rail strikes. Yesterday we reported another strike by RMT workers on Southern Rail on September the 7th and 8th. It's the fourth strike since April. Meanwhile, yesterday people from Seaford, including the MP, Maria Caulfield, delivered a petition to the Department of Transport demanding a return of services to the town. There are other strikes planned, including ticket office staff, and local MPs across the area have been giving their opinions and holding forums. There's even an all-party rail group now of MPs. Well, joining me now are three of them. It's the MP for Hove and Portslade, Peter Carr, the MP for Bexhill and Battle, Hugh Merriman, and the MP for Lewis, Maria Caulfield. Good evening to you all. Thanks for joining us.
Good evening.
Can I start with you, Maria? You were at, I think you helped present that petition yesterday at the Department of Transport, so you're clearly one of the people who's very cross from the town.
Well, absolutely, because while there is a strike planned for next week, in my constituency, the towns of Seaford and Newhaven have been cut off from the rail service, essentially with a bus replacement service since July. And we are now really worried because we're going back to school terms, to universities reopening, to people going back to work, and we're still on a bus replacement service. And the impact that's having on individual lives and the impact it's having for our local economy cannot be underestimated.
One might expect that an MP in the same party as the Transport Minister might be able to get a more personal meeting than just turning up with a petition.
Well, I mean, absolutely. And since Chris Grayling has taken over in the last few weeks, I have been talking to him. And there's two things he said. Firstly, he wants to get this dispute resolved as soon as possible because that's causing huge disruption across the network. But also, he has said to me he's not happy with the performance of Southern Rail for the last 18 months to 2 years because, you know, the dispute is one thing, but the performance has been really, really poor for all of us down here on the South Coast.
Peter, you've obviously you're with your all-party group there. Do you think that enough has been done to solve this?
Of course not. No, because the dispute is still going on. And while the dispute's going on, then patently not enough is going on. What we see at the moment with this additional strike that's being threatened is that we're seeing both sides in this dispute using passengers as pawns in their game. They're all using passengers against each other. They're inflicting the most enormous amount of pain on passengers, whether it be the 34,000 people who leave Brighton and Hove every day to go to work, or as Maria just brilliantly outlined, what's happening in smaller communities outside in the Sussex area. So what I am absolutely calling for is a far more assertive government response to this. Don't forget that government set the fares for Southern Rail, government actually collects all the revenue for Southern Rail, and government sets the timetable for Southern Rail.
Sure,
the vast majority of the operating decisions are taken by government, yet government actually stays passive while this war goes on between the franchise and the unions, and passengers are the ones who are paying the price.
Hugh, what do you think on that? Should the government be doing more?
I think Peter makes a very good point. I mean, this isn't just like British Gas versus its customers. The government is very much the party ultimately that takes the risk and the reward of the Southern contract. It's a different contract. And bearing in mind 165 million passenger journeys served by Southern each year, this is a massive impact on the national economy. So I do take the view. I hear what the government say in terms of they don't want to get involved and turn this into a political dispute. But actually, this has been going on for far too long. 9 months, no resolution. So to a certain extent, it makes absolutely sense, if it is a question of taking a risk, to make an additional seat at the table. And that was something I pushed the new rail minister at the Transport Select Committee. He said he wouldn't rule anything out, but then the Secretary of State appeared to rule that out. So I think I agree with Peter. I think the time has now come for the government to see what it can do.
Maria, let me turn back to this issue of a lot of us, I suppose, look to our MPs as being our representatives in this issue at the last resort, in a sense. And I know you've all been talking about what you've been doing. You've been talking to government, you've been getting petitions up and so on, but not a lot has happened, has it?
No, it has been frustrating, and the government up until now has been very clear that they don't want to get involved in the dispute between Southern and the rail unions. But I think a number of us are now saying, well, actually, it's not being resolved. They've been to ACAS twice, talks have broken down. We're now in another round of strikes in the first week of September. And, we are saying they have to do something. And, they, as Hugh said, and as Peter has said as well, they need to be in part of those talks because we're getting nowhere, and actually it's passengers that are suffering. So when we go back to Westminster after next week, I want to see the government stepping up to the plate.
So will you be going, you're going to get that meeting and say, I need you to step up here and do something about this?
Yeah, absolutely. I do understand why the government hasn't intervened so far, because they feel it's not a dispute that they're involved in. But actually, they do tender that contract, they do make money from those fares, and no one seems to be making progress. So the government, in my view, has to step in now.
Peter, you had a meeting with the Transport Minister. It didn't get very far, really, did it? Are you across the government hasn't done more now?
No, of course I am. But let's be clear about this. You can see that we're three MPs on the line here who are different parties, and yet we work together and say a pretty similar thing on this.
Yeah, but not a lot is happening, is it?
Well, hang on a second. I set up a group with Nicholas Soames, which all three of us on the line here are very, very involved in. Now, I've been very honest about this. Being an MP in an area served by Southern Rail right now is like having constant toothache. It is a pain that is absolutely inescapable, because we know the people we're here to represent are suffering every single time they try to get to work and try to get home afterwards. And there is nothing in the year and a half that I've been an MP that has made me feel so powerless as to what is happening on our rails now. On almost every other area of life, an MP's intervention, if it's done effectively and done with the right passion and foresight, can really make a big impact.
So what's going wrong?
At the moment we have, as I say, a really dysfunctional relationship between the unions and the employers, the franchise and the government, and of course Network Rail thrown in there as well to boot. All of these organisations are not working functionally. It is a dysfunctional relationship at the heart of our rail network, and underneath it all are some really huge challenges. The London Bridge upgrade, the huge problems of keeping the line between London and Brighton absolutely up to scratch, and an introduction of new rolling stock. All of these are big challenges which are being attempted by a completely dysfunctional set of organisations at its heart.
Hugh, one last question, if I may. Just, you've all talked very passionately about what you'd like to see happening. Maybe there's a suggestion that even MPs can't get this to move on. So when is the pain going to end?
Well, it's interesting because the contract has effectively been imposed now. So those changes will occur, but I think the concern will be, what will the drivers now do? Because if the drivers then refuse to operate the doors on the new stock, then we're back to square one. So we'll have to see. But I think the point you asked us is fair. I find it incredibly frustrating. Something like the patient transport issue that your radio station did a brilliant job on. We all held the CCG to account and we got changes through. It's fantastic. A really good example of MPs making it work. Southern, I do feel as if we are somewhat powerless. And I think there needs to be a lot more debate inside the House of Commons main chamber, not Westminster Hall, the main chamber, so that perhaps all of us can stand up and really make ourselves heard a lot clearer that we need some action, I believe now, from the government ministers. Because the passengers are right to say, well, what are our MPs doing? We are doing a lot, as I hope you can hear. But in terms of actually, are we making a difference in getting it resolved, as people know we're not. And we can tell you we're more frustrated than anyone about that lack of progress.
Hugh, it's good to hear from you. Thank you very much to the MP for Hove and Portslade, Peter Carl, MP for Bexhill and Battledale, Hugh Merriman, and the MP for Lewis Maria Caulfield. As frustrated as many on what's happening with Southern.